All right, gentlemen, when it comes to the assault after patch 6.0, we're going to look at his jump dash build right here, and also 2 other builds and his secondary weapons. So for this build right here, the 3 green dots in the class perks is what you're going to need to make it work. It's going to guarantee you a perfect jump dash dodge, 30% damage every time that you perform one, and then you're also going to restore your ability every time you perform one. So it sounds easy because it says guaranteed, but it is not as easy as it sounds. So I do recommend testing this build out in Ruthless and not the harder difficulties right now when you're first trying it out, because you're going to get a lot more testing time in Ruthless because it's a lot more forgiving with the with everything. So that is how I recommend testing this build, and then when you feel comfortable in Ruthless, then start moving up after that. You can make this build very strong. It does open up a lot more gun strike opportunities that you could not have before when you're having a blocking weapon. So it does, it can do that, and I do think people are going to end up making this build very efficient. For me right now, what I'm running in Absolute is going to be our blocking build right here, and you're seeing the hammer numbers right there on the side. When you pair this with the class perks that we have, it is insane numbers, and then you're adding on 25% to all those numbers if you're hitting with the charged attack. So that is why this build feels so powerful. And then the red dot is what you're going to want to take if you're going against chaos enemies. I usually prefer that when I go against chaos. And yeah, this build is very similar to what he had. Now I take the nade perk instead of the secondary 15% on my secondary, because I feel like I don't even need any secondary damage. I like it for ranged enemies, obviously. If I'm playing like solo or something, then it's nice. But I mean, if you're in like a group, you don't even care really about what you're doing with your range. You're going to let your group deal with a bunch of the range stuff, and you're just going to go to town on everything else with your hammer. So, and the Powerfist, obviously they took a huge jump, guys, so no knock on them. You could very well run those in Absolute as well. They can one-shot enemies now if you're spec'd out properly and hitting them with all your perks enabled and stuff. So they are very strong as well. And then we are also going to look at a fencing build for people who aren't quite comfortable running the blocking weapons yet, and I do recommend beefing up your secondary, because it is going to go a long way in giving you some type of more damage that you're losing, because you're going to lose a good amount of damage. I can't tell you the exact percent, but it's a decent amount, guys, when you drop down from your blocking builds to your fencing builds. So you're going to want to add that onto your secondary, and you're taking advantage of that green signature perk that just became available after patch 6, which is going to jump dash use, gives you 50% secondary damage for 10 seconds, which when you pair this with, like, even if you pair it with the Volkite, man, it melts things. That's what I paired this with to test it out with, and it was very, very strong. And then obviously with the heavy bolters, it's going to be just as strong. So very, very good. There is no perk icon yet, but I mean, I could tell it was working. So just be alarmed that there's no icon, which kind of sucks. But other than that, this is a good fencing build, I think, for people to take. And now we can look at his secondary weapons. Like I said before, I've said it on all my guides. If you have not checked out the Volkite since the patch, you should go check this gun out, because just with that one added perk, it feels a ton better. So I do suggest just taking a look at it. I'm not telling you it's better than your heavy bolter, but I'm telling you it's a lot more fun to play with, and it gives you options where you're not running the same gun every time. So it does feel good, and I usually take it against Tyranid enemies. So that is that, and right here is our heavy bolt, which this is my recommended gun for the class. And yeah, I think this is the most powerful weapon that he has still. And that's pretty much going to wrap it up. Like I said, this is his newest build. And then for me, when I'm running Absolute, I am still running, I like this build right here. This is like one of my favorite builds to run. And then you could always go to that other signature that became more powerful too in this build if you wanted to grab that 50% extra range damage after you use your jump pack. So you could switch that signature up if you wanted. At least it's an option now. But I did try this AoE one, and it is pretty strong. It kills a lot of things around you. So, yeah, very, very good for the assault right now. I think he's stronger than a lot of people kind of give him credit for. I really do.